fight OSB.
Yeah, do it.
Self-destruct button, engage.
Was that you?
Yeah, it was. Ooh. Ooh.
Damn,
There's been a lot of kills.
Yikes.
How's your grief doing? Oh,
It was kind of a... I think I got about 40 and 40. Pretty even split.
You better be doing a video on this next.
I got it. I got that one.
End the fight immediately.
Hello, fellow Araxians. Commander Sirius here. Today, I want to talk about construction. At this point, it's sort of a lost patch. They've tried to add a few construction bases to the map, but it has been extremely rare that I ever get a real fight there. More often, it's a place where everyone converges via galaxies for the last 2 minutes of an alert to try to eke out that last percentage, which usually ends up being a pretty one-sided fight. The only other place that people really pay attention to it is this. TI alloys. That little sliver slim triangle of safety. It grows smaller and smaller. As your battle rages on, you know the impending doom is coming. Of that good old TI alloys fight that seems to average at least 2 orbital strikes per minute. And as you huddle in that last little triangle of safety, all you can think is, why? Why does construction even exist in this goddamn game? Whoa. Huh. Not sure what happened there. Anyways, back to the endless orbital striking that construction brings to the game and seemingly nothing else. With the upcoming patch, the Shattered Warp Gate, they intend to keep with this trend of adding construction bases that have one controllable point, but they are going to add a hard spawn to the bases. Which is, well, to me, it's another weak attempt to make construction relevant other than trolling. Now, construction players have gotten plenty of hate over the years, starting with cores when they were a key part of locking a continent. It meant that a very small percentage of the player base could ruin and end the fun for the majority of the player base that was actually shooting each other. And when that went away, there was much rejoicing, but that was replaced by orbital strikes every 15 minutes at the big center bases of the map. And so while not as bad as having to collect cores to win a continent, the results are when you're playing construction, you're still just an annoying troll and everyone hates you. The one big redeeming factor of construction right now is routers. If you are willing to run routers for your outfit, you are literally a god. Your platoon leaders should be groveling at your feet and thank you for what you do. But the weird thing about that is the part of construction that is most functional in the gameplay really has nothing to do with construction. You build it near your warp gate, you build the minimum number of things you can to complete the base, and then you only touch the equipment to grab a router. Quite defeating of the whole concept of construction. Now, I am a person that believes that construction could truly be fun for everyone, not just the people doing it, not just the people using an orbital strike, or a flail or whatever trolley weapon is involved in it. I truly believe the builders in Planetside could be the people making the bases for us to fight at. Planetside is supposed to be this emergent, ever-changing FPS experience, but the reality is we've been fighting at some of these bases, tech plants, biolabs, etc. for 8 years. There's not that many surprises in them anymore. So I would love to see a base constructed by players that was truly interesting to fight at. What you're watching here is a super fun fight, but a very pointless fight. Using the flail, I'm able to beat back the VS troops that were trying to assault the base. But the flail is never really going to be useful in any sort of objective-oriented combat. Because it can't shoot into no construction zones, its actual use is very limited. Now, allowing it to shoot into bases in its current form with infantry's current resistance is a bad idea. It would just be a whole bunch of extra hesh spam that you can't reasonably counter. But as we go through construction, we will make our way to the Glaive IPC and the flail and see how we can make them an interesting part of combat, and avoid the whole no effective counter type of situation. So to me, the number one goal of this reimagining of construction is to make construction bases a fun place for infantry to fight at. Vehicles can certainly be involved as well, but it's always fun to crash a harasser or a sunderer or a main battle tank into a base, and construction bases will not limit that, so vehicles should have no problem getting involved. I know, the horror, but welcome to Combined Arms. And the second thing is they need to have purpose, a reason an enemy wants to control them. Right now, orbital strikes are countered by stepping into a building, so in general, unless you have your own orbital strikes available or a bastion, people mostly ignore construction bases. So let's dive into these conundrums and discover how construction players can be the architects of fun rather than the trolls of Araxis. There's two things that have to go away right off the bat. The first is the turret AI module. There's no way a fun infantry fight can ever form if the infantry are constantly pinned behind walls because a computer is shooting at them. And the second big item that has to go away is the Pain Spire. This is the same problem. Infantry can't advance in the fight without taking damage. It's not just a deterrent, it really makes it a no-go zone, saying infantry aren't allowed, need to bring tanks to blow this stuff up. And the final thing that needs to happen is a tweak, not a deletion. Right now, the Skywall Shield emitter EMPs infantry if they get anywhere close to it. You don't even have to hit the actual shield model. You can be above it or below it. You're still going to get affected. This module should be solely to protect from air-to-ground farmers and Hesh farmers. Infantry should be able to freely pass through it without taking any damage. Some of these balance in these systems are residual when they had to allow construction to defend itself from 12 maxes dropping on a core. That obviously doesn't matter now. What we're going to try to do to construction is make it so that those 12 maxes may cause problems for your infantry, but they're not going to be the end of your base. Okay, next thing we're going to do is make this tab invulnerable to everything but an ant's mining laser. The one exception being the vehicle gate. I would actually love to make that one invulnerable as well, but you would have to make it so that it's hackable. If that's not easily achieved, then just make it deletable with AP rounds. Now, why go this route? My goal here is that over the course of a continent, the spaces in between the bases fill up. And I would love to see them get busier and more interesting. Right now what happens is someone spends an hour building a base. And sure, it might repel a few small attacks. But the moment one big force shows up with maybe a few orbital strikes on top of 40 tanks, it's deleted, wiped from the face of the earth. Same thing with the Bastion. All that work spent creating the potential for an interesting new area to fight is completely wiped out. Once we delete the one-way shield module capability on these things, these objects are perfectly cross-faction. And so while one faction may abandon them as the battle drives through it, the other faction can pick up where it left off and start making the base bigger and cooler with part of the work already done. The one piece to add to that is the walls from this tab, because these are the structures that are just creating the arena to battle in. We don't want all the work to put these up on a map to go away after the first fight. Now let's go through the construction objects and reimagine them for a new arena building system. Now the Cordium silo, I would like to see it invulnerable and either cross-faction or hackable, rather than one faction moving into an area and blowing up a silo with 30,000 Cordium, effectively erasing a lot of the construction workers' playtime to help build that arena. They should be able to control that silo, occupy the base, and keep expanding it so it's ready for a new emergent fight when the enemy they kicked out inevitably pushes back through that area. I don't have any big changes in mind for the Elysium spawn tube. I'm figuring Sunders will still handle a lot of the players spawning at the battles for these bases, but I would like to create a situation where it's common for construction fights to happen and the attackers and enemies have a sturdy spawn at those fights. Okay, let's move on and go through the modules. We talked about Skywall Shield emitters. They need to exist to protect from relentless Bastion, Rocket Pods, Banshee, PPA, Airhammer, Zephyr, etc. spam, but they should not be an anti-infantry device. Protect from the air, that's it. Maybe allow infiltrators to disable them for 30 seconds once they're hacked. Structure shield module. One-way shields do not work. It's not fun when you're trying to approach a building and enemies can just freely shoot out of it. It feels like you're trying to attack a spawn. Shield modules lose their permanent one-way shield ability. Right now they have an activatable bolster effect that can apply to local structures. When activated, they can apply the one-way shield for 20 seconds as a momentary defense, and then they go on cooldown for 2 minutes. Repair modules keep doing what they're doing. They're not necessary to keep the structures up, but they can help you keep your turrets up and other modules up. AI modules delete that horrible thing. Reinforcement modules shouldn't be necessary. If there's a good fight at the base, population should be able to spawn in, much like they could at any other non-player made base on the map. Alarm modules can keep doing their thing as well. No changes there. We already made all the structures invulnerable. To bring purpose to fight at these bases, we are going to add some more structures in the future, like a triple stack that could generate ISO gain for the faction that controls it, a powerhouse building that increases the faction's nanite gain, whoever controls it, and an L building that offers a cert boost to the faction that controls it. Changing control of these buildings requires a generator in the buildings, a 2-minute countdown until it flips to that faction's control. Towers I'm torn on what to do with. You can take it 2 directions. You leave them like they are now, they go up and they get deleted once a tank takes them out. Or you make them more like an amp station or a tech plant where they go up once, and then once destroyed they don't go away, they just sit there smoldering until repaired. If you do go that route, you have to make them hackable while they're destroyed. So the new faction that rolls in could hack those turrets to their side and repair them up. In the support tab, I would leave these invulnerable as well. No need to spend time and resources rebuilding these when a map's only open for a few hours. And finally, I haven't talked about the tactical tab yet. It's a tab I don't really know what to do with because everything is either one-sided or not very fun. We've gotten rid of the Pain Spire. I don't want the Routing Spire to have to be a part of using routers. And the Orbital Strike uplink, the Flail, and the Glaive IPC, I would love to reimagine them, but the whole point of this change in construction is for fights to be fun in the construction area, which these weapons won't be relevant in, because they all have minimum targeting distances. So their balance pass can be separate from this make construction fun pass. So guys, the macro vision of what I'm trying to get at here is we've been playing on the same tired maps for 8 years. And yes, we've gotten some refreshers. The Shattered Warp Gate is going to bring a refresher to Esamir, a small refresh to Indar, but still, we're going to tear through that content pretty darn fast. Construction is the opportunity to me to create emergent fights in between the bases. A continent opens up, it's a clean slate. The builders go to work. They start laying down arenas that we have never fought in before, that we will battle through on our way to the next base. As the map draws on, these bases will get bigger and more expansive. Sure, the modules and all the turrets will be destroyed when a battle happens, but the structures will remain, and the opposing faction can take residence after they win a battle and refortify the base how they want to. Add some additional structures, put up modules and turrets how they would like to see it done. And the faction that was pushed out will inevitably come crashing through, and again, we will have a new battle at a base, an arena that we haven't fought at before. This will go on until the continent locks due to a lock alert, and then the slate will be wiped clean. Next time it opens, that continent will be a new blank canvas for building folks to create new arenas all over again. Some bases will be glorious, well thought out, truly defensible, and pleasing to the eyes. And some of them will be hacked together abominations that make absolutely no sense. But the key thing is, they will always be different, and that will bring emergent arenas to Planetside every time a continent opens up. And then the final piece is, say you retune everything so that it would actually be fun to fight there. How do you give people a reason to actually fight there? Well, the number one thing to do would be to make it functional to take territory in between bases. Then you're going back to the macro flow, micro flow videos we've done in the past. But we have to assume that that's too much work and it's not going to happen. That's where I start bringing up the ideas of bringing in these other buildings, like the powerhouse building, like the triple stack, like an L building, that would have powerful enough perks associated with them that rather than just flying over the top of that base with galaxies to the next controllable point, it would actually be worth battling into that construction base and controlling those buildings for their effects. Again, without an actual lattice line forcing you to go into that construction area, there's a big risk that people are going to ignore it. But if you're not going to make the field fights required, then you just have to incentivize them well enough. Okay, fellow Araxians, that's going to be it for now. I want to reiterate again that I don't actually hate construction. Any hate I've shown towards it in any of my videos is really about its weak implementation, but I can always see its massive potential to keep the game from going stale, which makes me all the more angry about it, that it seems to be relegated to this tiny corner audience of the game, when in reality I think it could make everyone's experience better. So get cracking, get down to the comments, and let me know your thoughts on construction's current place, whether you liked or disliked cores of the past, whether it's already good in its existing form, or whether you see potential changes that could truly round it out and make it a key feature of this game. To all you serious soldiers out there that were generous enough to hit that join button, you're goddamn heroes, and I salute you. Thank you for your continued support. That's going to be all for now, fellow Araxians. Until next time, I will see you Planetside.